Welcome to the Zapata brand. And now, your host, George Zapata.
So you are now a starter. Everything is going great. You're now,
Just signed a new contract going in. So I become a starter my third year. My fourth year, I'm coming back. We get Buddy Ryan. I take that back. When I was a starter, we didn't have Buddy, and I had I starter. So my next year, my contract. So I signed a new contract, new 3-year deal. Signed a nice 3-year deal, and I was a starter. Played Pittsburgh the opening game. Second game of the season, I was in practice playing, and I went up for a ball in our corner. I hit my corner, and I tore my ACL. So I mean, right away, I'm thinking, "There's my career over." You know, back then when they
weren't
cut
guaranteed.
you open, nothing was guaranteed.
You wouldn't have guaranteed
because when I was there, when I came in '89, it was just after the strike in '87.
Oh yeah,
So
that's right.
the first thing that happened, like now, there's the free agency and all the things. Back then, they started a thing called Plan B. And you can protect like 6 guys. You know what I mean? 6 guys off your roster, whatever. They really couldn't move around. Because back then, when you were at a team, you were there for forever until they let you go. Like you didn't have a choice to go somewhere else. They had the rights.
Well, what about when your contract ended?
Well, you had it. You had it. If they didn't do your deal, they had your rights first. They had
Are
a
you
right
kidding me?
Yeah, until they let you, and you didn't let go. So that's why they had a strike and everything. And
okay.
everything. Yeah,
All right,
so they
well, that
owned
makes
you.
sense.
They owned you. Once you were at one team, you were there for life until they got rid of you. That's what it is. So then, Plan B came on. And then as it arose, and then it got to be free agency, but it was little baby steps. So I only hit to the end until my last 3-4 years was kind of free agency.
All right, so you were the starter. You get this injury,
Right?
You were at unbelievable high because now here you are, third year. You're ready to go. Sign a big deal.
Yep.
Build the monstrosity of the house over here in Berwick.
That was before then.
Oh, was it before then?
Yeah.
Oh, geez.
Yeah.
You didn't even sign your big contract when you built
big
that?
contract yet. And,
wow. You were balling.
But everything you had, I mean, it was good money, but it wasn't like retirement money. Like
true.
You know, I mean, like these guys now, if they sign a deal, if they're a first, second, or they're a starter, they sign a deal and they get hurt. I mean, they can live for the rest of their life pretty damn easy. You know, with a couple $1 million. I mean, you know, so but. You know, you think it's the end of your career, and I get some opinions.
How did you feel coming home?
Oh, I mean, like it was over. Like I told my, like I said, getting back to having family and friends and my wife. I mean, it was.
And the
was
medical
very
was
tough.
nowhere near what it is now.
No,
So you
I mean,
must have been scared.
When you got your knee done, they made a long cut and opened it, and once they did that, you were never the same. There was never.
So did you get the surgery or no?
So I had some MRIs and everything like that, and it wasn't severed all the way, and I opted to just rehab. So I got hurt the second game of the season, and I rehabbed, and I came back. I think my first game back was unbelievable. Was the greatest comeback ever in Buffalo.
Takes me to that point because I have so many questions from my friends from New Jersey about the 2 games that you were involved in that you told me about that were classic games. The comeback and then the snowball game.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So the comeback game, you have to tell me, what the hell were you guys thinking?
I mean, it was so Buffalo is
So the people who don't know, you set it up as to what was going on.
Right.
Start from the beginning.
So, Buffalo was a Super Bowl team. They were there a year or two, this and that. So we were Houston Oilers. We came in there, and we come into a very hostile stadium, and they tell you when you go up into the parking lot, like look forward, they'll be throwing beer cans and batteries at your butt. Like they're just fans, or they're
That's all they got up there.
Fans.
That's all they got.
And it's like you're driving through these neighborhoods, and all of a sudden you drive up into this stadium. It's like in the middle of neighborhoods. It's crazy. And so we get off and play in a very, very hostile place. Fans are close. We start routing them, and I mean we're beating them 28-3 at halftime. We go into halftime. So the key was that Jim Kelly was hurt and Frank Wright was the backup quarterback. So we had them 28-3. We come out in the second half, and I don't know, maybe 3, 4, or 5 plays into Bubba McDowell picks off a pass, goes for a touchdown. We're up 35-3. So I have friends. At the game, family and friends. Some of my friends are Buffalo fans. Some of them are Pittsburgh fans. So the winner of that game was going to play Pittsburgh in the AFC Championship. my friends go home at halftime like, oh, this is over with, 35-3 overtime. So as the story goes, they hit. So we're going 35-3, and we're kind of going, and then gets later in the third quarter, and we blow a coverage, and Frank Reich throws a touchdown pass. So now it's 35-10, and the crowd gets a little bit louder. And then come next time, and then they stop us, and then they ended up throwing another touchdown pass. And so now the crowd's going up. And if you're ever part of any sports, high school, with everything, when you have big crowds and you hear, the cheer and the momentum, momentum in any sport is
that's real.
Yeah, it's real.
Okay.
I mean, it's a real thing. And then especially when the opposer starts thinking, oh shit, here we go, that we can't lose this game, or having any kind of negative thoughts, and you don't know you're in a tough place, and things just unravel and unraveled.
Let me get you. Let me get the inside of the sidelines. You're on the sidelines sitting there. You're like, what the hell's going on?
Yeah.
So what's like the talk? They're like,
then we start, we have the blown coverage, and we have a guy in there, blown coverage, corner comes up, and then the next one they score, and then now you start having some guys arguing with another, where were you at? You were supposed to be over the top, blah, 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 in coverages, and linebackers not dropping, so you start having a little arguing on your own team, a little dissension, you know what I mean? And then that grows, you're getting loud, the crowd's getting louder, and then things just happen, and Warren Moon gets sacked. I don't know if he sacked it or he threw an interception, and the momentum, and it was something that you just can't stop. And it was just, we were out there playing, but it was just, they were doing everything right, and we were doing everything wrong.
Who put the prevent defense in? Was that Buddy Ryan?
Well, it wasn't really prevent.
You went into some sort of prevent, I remember, because I remember watching the game. I'm like, why?
Well, they were playing.
Almost like
when you're 35-3. I mean, you're not taking risks and
everything. It was almost like
you
played not to lose, and a bitch in the ass.
Well, at that big of a deficit at 35-3 in the NFL, it's tough to come back. When you're playing, and then you play a little looser. The first thing they say to you is, don't let anybody behind you. No big plays. So you're playing loose. Those guys are playing hard. It was funny. The next year I went to San Diego, and Gail Gilbert was the quarterback, one of the quarterbacks in San Diego, and he was the backup for Frank Wright, and he was warming up to go in, and he was just about to go in, and they were like, Frank does a touchdown pass. Let him have one more series. Throws another touchdown. How about having? I said, "Damn, Gail, I wish they would have put you in." So we went to the AFC Championship game.
Was Jim Kelly? Because
he didn't play at all.
He didn't play at all.
No,
I thought
Frank
he was
Reich
coming back
started the
in.
game. No.
I thought there was okay. So he was out.
He was out. Yeah, he was out for sure. So we thought 35-3. Frank Reich's not gonna beat us playing off this and that, and they just hit some big plays, and it was contagious.
It was like off to the races. Dude, I remember watching it.
My mom, I just had my daughter. And my mom was down in Houston for a while, and she got on a plane, and they said, "Oh my God, Houston's up 35-3 or 28-3." She gets on a plane. When she lands, they were like, "Oh my God, the biggest comeback ever at Houston Oilers lost." She was like, "Oh my God, what happened?" She didn't see it.
Now, was she a big football fan, or did she go to the games?
I think she was a big Bo Orlando fan. She was a big, huge football fan. She just liked seeing her. Who doesn't like seeing her son playing? In the NFL,
that's true. That's true.
So she didn't know what was going on or all that things, but being around sports all her life, I mean, she had a clue. She wasn't total clue.
I thought she just was kind of just
no. She didn't come much to my little league games and stuff because
that's what's different.
They were at home.
It's funny because most parents are like, oh yeah, we went to their games. They travel.
They
go
to
like,
practice.
Practice, and they sit there. I'm like,
in the lawn chairs.
What the hell? I'm thinking to myself, I could never. My mom would never. She never went to practice ever, let alone games. It was tough for her. She just she was going through some shit too. But it's like we never.
My mom never went to my away games in high school, home games because it was home here.
They are like literally traveling 8 deep to go. I'm like, are you crazy?
I don't think my dad has ever came to any of my practices. No one.
And,
ever, I don't think they were forbidden.
You feel bad or something, but I mean, maybe it's different now. But like, guys are different too. Guys are different than moms in the sports. They've changed. Mm-hmm. Moms are going. They're picking you up. They're taking you to where. Dads. I mean, I didn't have a dad. I mean, I had nobody there.
Right.
So it was, and neither did you.
Right.
So it was kind of like you're on your own. But it's not a bad thing. I didn't look at it as a bad thing because I wanted to perform for everybody else too.
I always say the difference now is it's like survival. You know, when no one's there, like no one was there with me in West Virginia or this and that. Like you grew up to be a man, or you were a little puss and you went home, or you did something. So I think that's a little bit of a problem. I think they're like too protective, because when you're at practice and a coach yells at you, now the mom sees it. Now you're at home. Oh, I saw coach yell, and they're giving you all their opinions. So now they're only hearing what your mom and dad sees, not what everybody else or what a coach sees. You know what I mean? So I think that's the worst. I hate when they come to practice. Like football, we don't have any.
We're gonna get. I'm gonna get into that later on here in this, because I wanted your opinion on a few things that happened in my life.
Yeah.
The second game that happened was at Giant Stadium, the Snowball. Now, who was the player that got knocked out?
No, it was our equipment manager, Doc. Doc was I don't know, he had to be in his 60s, so he was everything.
Jesus.
So you had to like
sorry, Doc, if you're listening.
Yeah. So when I don't know if Doc's still living. I don't know, but anyway, but it was hilarious, because when you came off to the sideline, they told you get on a bench, don't face the side, don't face the crowd. And you had to leave your helmet on, because you take your helmet off and on there. I mean, they were coming from the upper deck, and they were coming out to about the hash. Okay. Like they're anywhere from the sidelines to the hat. And I mean, it was like pop, 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 and you're trying to play, and there's snowballs going all over the place. So we're on a defensive stop or whatever. We're on the freaking sidelines, and Doc's coming over to the bench. We're on the bench, and we're sitting on the top of the bench and up like that, and he comes over, and all of a sudden, pow! He gets in that. It was like a sniper was up in the lights, and they cow. So we had it on. Now, thank God he's all right. Thank God he's all right. So we had a big TV, in the locker rooms and stuff like that, and they had a tape, and it would just run, and guys would just fall out. 'Cause after they knew he was all right, it was like Doc, and it was like pow, Doc.
That is hilarious.
Oh, dude, it was so funny.
That was a crazy game.
I mean, dude, you'd get hit in the head and the shoulder, like pounded with snowballs. Like what the frick?
That was horrible. That was horrible. So that was one of your two games. Now let's get into the kind of like the wrapping up of your career. But so let's say you're done with your injury, you come back. Did you play any longer for Houston?
So I came back that year there. So I rehabbed in the offseason. Now Buddy Ryan comes.
Okay.
And I have Buddy Ryan comes and runs our defenses and that. So right away he doesn't give me my job back. He puts Marcus Robinson.
Did he not know you from prior?
Yeah, but Buddy was Buddy. Buddy just didn't care. Buddy had his guys, and Buddy didn't give a shit about anybody. Buddy would come in and do film and scribble. And he had this guy named Ronnie, was our defensive coordinator. Well, not coordinator. He was a linebacker coach, but he would sit up there and and call his defenses, and then he would walk out of the meeting, and then Ronnie would run the rest of the meeting. So he wasn't in there. Practice, he would sit in the back with a little sunscreen because Houston's real hot, and he would have his little jacket on with a sunscreen on his nose. You'd walk in a hall in a 3-foot hallway, and that dude wouldn't say nothing to you passing by you. Hey, coach, how you doing? He'd just walk right by you. He was just a prick. Like, you played out of fear. Like, and he would get rid of you in a heartbeat. If he didn't like you, you were gone. And he'd bring his guys, and that's how he graded film. He called you by numbers. Like 26 tackle, 51 asshole, like if you screwed up, or dumbass, 71 dumbass, like if you made a mistake. That's how he graded film.
How was that successful?
I mean, you're grown men. I mean, it's not like but you know in yourself that you're not you're not a dumbass, this and that. But that was just his fear, his way of coaching. But it wasn't,
not great leadership skills.
No. So anyway, I backed up all that year, and then his scheme was a matchup. He's always had a great Mike linebacker and a free safety, called all their defenses. So what he did is he had a regular formation, a blitz formation, a 46 defense, and a 46 BTF. So he would match every, call it red as split backs. Like I backs, I strong, or I near. We called it blue or red. You come all kind of things. So he would have every formation lined up down there, and then he'd have every defense written in. There'd be 4 slots, whether you called regular defense, BTF, 46, or 46 BTF, and you had to memorize it, because whatever did it matched up against everything they did. So when he would call, you give this call, 46 defense. So whatever they came out and you get trips, 46 against trips, 60. So you had it like it was on. Everything matched up against what they did. That's why our defense was number 1 and number 2 in the whole league. I mean, it was ridiculous, but that was his forte. But you had a guy like Mike Singletary, Plank, all those guys running their free safety, and their Mike linebacker had to be sharp because the calls had to
That's
come
coming
out.
at real time.
Oh my God, like real fast. You talk about playing against all kind of stuff, and it just matched up against everybody, and he was very successful doing it. Now people caught on in the later years, but it's like anything else. As the run and shoot comes out, it blows up for a couple of years till people find out how to do it, and then something else comes.
Wildcat.
Something else comes. Like it's just it's just like. They don't reinvent the wheel. There's things that are there the whole time. It's just that some people put a little tweak into it, and then they call it something, and they're the savior of football. They're a genius.
So then you didn't get your job back.
So then I come back. Marcus Robinson in the last three games ago, he blows his patella tendon out. I come in and I have 3 picks in 3 games, and then I become a free agent. So I'm out of there. Like I didn't want to stay there. I wanted to go be a starter somewhere. So.
Right.
I go to my agent. We get on the line, and there wasn't a lot of starting jobs out there, but I had to go. I got an opportunity to go to San Diego, and I signed a 2-year deal. And the contract meant that if I met all my incentives, I had a decent base, but I had a pretty good incentive package. If I met all my incentives, then my second year it got null and void, and I became a free agent again.
Okay.
And I competed against a guy. I was running against a guy there, and he was a young guy, probably in his second year, and he was just a cocky, but he was tough. Ronnie Harrison. Yep. He was tough as nails. The guy always had penalties and always had attitude, hitting guys late and this and that. A lot of players didn't even like him. I watched the specials on when he was up in New England, talking about when he came out, he'd be rocking his own guys, the New England receivers, and he was just a prick, but he was a hell of an athlete. I mean, the guy was strong. And at that point, I played for Bobby Ross, and Bobby Ross was at Maryland. That's where I got the shot because when I was offered the scholarship at Maryland, Bobby Ross was the coach, so I turned him down and went to West Virginia. Then he's like, I finally get a shot at you, this and that. So Bobby's a good guy. So anyway, I ended up beating out Rodney, and I became second leading tackler, and I met all my incentives, and I became a free agent. So having a young agent like I had, Al Papuno, there was a tight end and someone else that had to be done. He said when they do their deals, they're going to do mine over. So in the meantime, we get a new coordinator, Dave Adolph from Kansas City, and I'm waiting. Next thing you know, he brings over his safety from Kansas City and signs him for San Diego. So now I'm out of a job. I'm a free agent out of a job. So we're looking around. The only team that didn't have starting safety at that time was the Cincinnati Bengals. So Dave Shula knew my agent or whatever, and he called and talked to David. So I ended up signing a 3-year deal with the Bengals. So
was that your biggest deal?
That was my biggest deal.
Okay.
And then they brought in 2 new corners and myself. We call us the 3 amigos. We call ourselves, we're starters going in there, and Jimmy Spencer and Ashley Ambrose. And we came in there, and I think I was the first or second year I led the team in tackles. I had like 129 tackles. I mean, we were okay. We had Big Daddy Wilkinson from Ohio State, Big Cat from Baylor. We had a couple good players, Steve Tower. We had a lot of good players, but Cincinnati was just a real rough place. We came in with Dave Shula. Dave Shula gets fired. I think we go 2-5 the first 7 games, and then Bruce Coslet was our offensive coordinator.
Yeah.
They fired Dave. He becomes a head coach. We go 5-2 the next games, and I think we had a playoff game in there. But so then the second year I became a starter, and then they signed this safety. So I played my second year, and then I kind of split times at the end. And then they decided to go with the young guy, and I left Cincinnati.
How was Bruce Coslet?
Bruce was a good guy. I mean, Bruce was a smart guy. Jim Anderson, the quarterback, great quarterback. He was a quarterback from there. They had a good staff, but at the time Cincinnati didn't seem like as big of a, like the Brown family. Like a lot of the Brown families involved, like their daughters and son-in-laws and everybody kind of ran the team, other than just having regular general managers. And it was just kind of a very, very different place. And I had a guy, Ray Horton, who's probably, I don't know, he's probably still coaching in the league. He played for the Cowboys, And then he was my coach, and Ray was real good, and he would just tell me like, dude, just keep playing. It's not my decision, this and that of you moving, you know what I mean? And who knows what that can, So, I had a real good career there, and then it was off, and then I'm getting into my 10th year, and I'm like, I don't know what I want to do. So I signed a 2-year deal with the Steelers, just minimum with the Steelers, and I play behind Darren Perry, and Carnell Lake. And I get into training camp, and I mean, it's kind of like a dream. Now you're getting home. I'm either with the Steelers or the Eagles. You grew up in Pennsylvania, and playing for Coach Cower. And Coach Cower's, as a player coach, he's a great guy. I have a sciatic nerve, and I'm out for like the whole preseason. And so Will Wolford, he was an all-pro.
Oh yeah.
So he was hurt. So we'd have to go to this UPMC at the time. We would travel every day and go get treatment and come back to that. And I'm figuring like, here's an all-pro, so now I'm done. I'm in my 10th year, and then Cower calls me and he said, "No, you're not going anywhere. I know what you can do. You need to get healthy for the first game." So I backed up all year. And just basically played special teams and backed up. And Darren was a very, very solid safety, and Carnell was a great safety.
Right.
And after that, Darren retired, and I thought I was coming back and going to be a starter. And I was at the place. I think I don't know if I went to mini camp or I was visiting for something, and I went home, and like 2 weeks later they released me. So they went with 2 younger guys. They brought 2 younger guys in. To play safety. So
how's that when they release you?
I'll tell you what, any time they release you, I don't care what year it was and anything. I mean, it's an ego blow. Somebody trying to tell you you're not good enough. You're like, screw you. You know what I mean? And it becomes personal. Yep. You know what I mean? And like the money wasn't what it is. Like, if I had a couple $1 million, I'd be like, "Oh, cool, I'm cool. I'll go play golf and this and that." But I mean, it was a job, and you're raised for your family. You're working hard for this money. I was probably more mentally drained than physically, because at my size, I fought it every year. I fought for my starting job every year. I wasn't like a starter and signed a couple $1 million deal, $2-3 million deal, at that time. Like when I first came in, the safeties were making 2.25, and the corners were making like 3.25. Like I thought, man, if I can make that, you know what I mean? And went up a little bit, but I mean, you never, one guy was making more moves. The only guy making $1 million. He was making right at $1 million. So that just shows you the time frame. So, being said that, I'm finished my 10th year, and I moved the year before that. I was living in Berwick when I signed my Cincinnati deal. So I had a house, talk about the big house in Berwick here. But I had all my family and everything, took care of it in the off season. I would move my kids from school to school. From Christmas break, they would go to school. My youngest, Joey, my oldest, started in San Diego in kindergarten and came to kindergarten in Berwick. We'd come at Christmas break, and my wife would take the kids home, and if I had like one game, remember, Cincinnati had one game left. My brother came out, to help me drive and pack some stuff up. I had a townhouse there, so my wife would take the kids home and put them in school, in here, and so it was like that. But then when I got down to Pittsburgh, I moved before my last year at a house in Berwick in 1998. I bought a house in Bethlehem because my wife's sister lived in Bethlehem. We would go visit. I really liked the area, and I didn't want to go far. I was either going there or I was going to West Virginia. I was going to Morgantown. Okay. Either place I was going to go, because I figured was the best opportunity for a job, a little bit bigger market in Bethlehem.
Right.
Or I go back to West Virginia where I had a big payment and everything like that. So, so we chose to live in Bethlehem. So I moved into a house. I bought a house in Bethlehem. So my mother-in-law lived in there because her daughter lived in the same neighborhood. So we went out to Pittsburgh and just rented a townhome. So when I came back, I'm thinking to myself, I'm in Bethlehem and an hour from Philly, so I'm trying to get maybe sneak one more year in there, in Philly. So I, trying to. And a guy named Bobby DePaul, he's a coach. One of assistant coaches was down in Philly, and I tried to get there, and things couldn't work out. So that's when I decided to just nix it.
Now, I just want to go back to when you were saying you were thinking of retiring. Mm-hmm. In boxing, they always say when you're thinking about retiring, you're retired.
Right.
And that ends part 3 of our 4-part series with Bo Orlando. Coming up next, the 4th and final edition of the Bo Orlando interview. Thank you.